Rolling, very much. Rolling. Okay, I'm rolling on this. I'm always thrilled and proud and honored to be on any kind of a list like this. I mean, this is a workshop, and I'm here as an instructor, but I'm also here as a student. I mean, you guys, you got, two of the biggest influences and legends in electric guitar. I mean, Larry Carlton and Robben Ford. Those are definitely two of my favorites. And Robben, I mean, I can tell you exactly where I was when I heard his music for the first time, and it was one of those, life-changing light bulb moments of like, wow, what is this? I've got to go down that rabbit hole for a while, And
the white keys of the piano, this is what I like to say, is that absolutely all, let's say 90% of music comes out of the white keys of the piano. It can be understood. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's one way of saying it, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, octave, right? C is just the best scale because it's so visual, white keys of the piano, right? So you know that chords are made up of tonic third and fifth, for instance, and then second, fourth, and sixth, third, fifth, and seventh, right? Which looks like... So this can be a chop buster for some people, but I want to stay in the key of C. So forgive me, but it's da da da, 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, and on the piano, you just go like this, and then you just go like this. That's all that's happening. And that's the 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord, blah, octave. So the 5 chords, the blues, right? C, F, G, for instance. That comes into question. But 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, those are your chords. Somebody says 1, 6, 2, 5. 1, 6, 2, 5. That's it. And it looks like ding, 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 ding on the piano. So the piano, I really encourage everyone, you should have a little keyboard. So you just see it. It's right there, man. It's so obvious and so simple. And as I like to say, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? It's so important that they wrote a song about it. Very famous song. Oh, it goes, do, the thing that buys me beer. Re, the guy who sells me beer. Me, the guy who drinks the beer. Fa, a long way to get beer. So, I'll have another beer. La, I'll have another beer. T, no thanks, I'll have a beer. And that brings us back to do. So now you'll never forget it.
One of the biggest things about doing in-person events like this is because majority of guitarists now learn online and everything's done via the internet. But what do you think the importance is of actually getting in the room with real guitarists and, more importantly, amazing guitarists, and how can that help develop your learning as a musician?
I think when those of us that are asked to do a clinic, if there's just one thing that we say that each guy goes, oh, and they take that away because of our experience, then the whole thing was worth it. Just one thing. Hopefully more than that, but just if I say one thing or show one thing that I did or I thought of, and they take that germ, they couldn't have got that without being there. How's the mix, guys? Guitar and track, sound good? Okay, Mike, you can kill that now. Thank you very much. You could think of the G major 7th chord as D, like you said. All those notes work against that. And then he said, and then you think of it as D minor for the F over G. That's two changes that you're familiar with. D chord, D minor. Those notes all fit against the G major 7 to the F over G. So yeah, you've already grown to substitutions. See, I went, no, but that's a good place to start. But how to make musical sense out of those things. One thing you can start thinking about and being aware of are common tones. A is common to G major 7th, because you're thinking D major. It's also common to the F over G. So if you find common tones within the progression, you can build off that. Like here would be a, using that A and thinking your way, which you thought of D major to D minor in place of G major 7 to F over G. That's a first level substitution. So yeah, you take your A and think about I'm playing D. That's a D chord. Then you're going to D minor. Simplest way is, right? Now you can start using that A as a pivot point because it's common to both changes, so you don't have to think a lot about that. I'm using that A, you know? And then the other way is to find a note that's only a half step away from where you were. If you're thinking D major, well, F sharp. Now you're going to, you said D minor for the F, down a half step. Now you have an A common tone for both of those changes, but you also have an F sharp to an F natural that you know works. So it's, there's the D, then
it's slightly surreal sometimes if you're just sitting chatting with Robben Ford or Larry Carlton or something, but also, you know, great fun. And I think the sort of love of guitar thing bonds everybody together. So there's not really a, you know, them and us type of thing. Really, everybody feels pretty chilled out. I know I've been talking to people a lot out with the scheduled lessons. People just grab me in the corridor and say, "Can you just run that over again or whatever?" And yeah, so it's pretty easy going. The other thing that's interesting with fingerstyle is, again, if you keep it relatively simple, you can play like a solid bass line. So in other words, the bass doesn't really move. The bass is completely solid all the time. And then you can maybe start to build it up like that. So a good exercise for this. Now, Tony and I have done a few workshops before, and we sat down and we did this, and everybody's looking at me thinking, that's the easiest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. Fast forward 10 minutes, they're like, I'm going to kill him. I really don't like him. He seems like a nice guy, but under the surface, pure evil. Right, so anyway, so what this is only two fingers, your thumb and your first finger, right? So your thumb is just doing 1, 2, 3, 4. And it doesn't change from that, okay? Right, so the other bit is, if I count it, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and, right? Only on the first string, and it's just open, 3rd fret, and then open again, okay? That's it, okay? Right, so if you try the two together, they should sound like this. So you notice what happens is as soon as you do da-da-da, your thumb decides that it's going to do something different, okay? So that's what I would consider to be the issue. So if you look something like this and you think, right, I'm going to play this type of thing. Right, you're not really going to have a lot of chance for that if you can't do that. Right? That's the tragedy of the whole thing, right? The absolute tragedy of the whole thing is That's the hard work part.
I always say if you want to get a musician to come somewhere, give them a good destination. I love to travel, I love meeting new people, and I love seeing the world. And so when I was younger, I did a lot of touring, and you go to these places, but you don't really get to see the town, you know. And so as I get older, you know, the destination is a big deal.
This countryside will keep me whole. I've escaped more than twice from here, London, Bristol, and further afield, but you hold back things to help me stay. But now I'm all grown. You'll ask if I'll keep coming home. Don't you dare send me on a guilt trip away from here. There's still so much the spire can do. I had my first kiss in its shadow, ate mulberries and went to school. It's no empire, cries lost seers, but they don't have choristers that bring me to tears. I planned my wedding there for most of my life. A Walton fanfare, sweet peas, romantic.
Within the lessons from the masters, there's been a lot of emphasis on groove, which I love hearing, because as I try to teach what I'm most passionate about, groove and rhythm keeps coming back to be like number one, because it just, when the music feels like it has a groove, everything's right. You know, you can have a simple thing with a good groove and you don't need anything else. And so to see some of those things kind of like over and over again reinforced, it feels like it validates that like we're all here for music that makes us feel something. After you've been listening and experiencing all this inspiration, we get a chance to actually just play a bit, because there's only so much you can fit in your brain. But then once you start playing and just sort of connecting with these new friends and people that you may have known for a while, music really is the connector. And sometimes there'll be someone who's really shy and hasn't said much of anything throughout the day, and then they play and they sing, and you get to see everything kind of open up. It's a real great way to sort of like put all the pieces together.
And I look across the water, and I think of all the things, what you're doing. In my head I paint a picture
that I want from you, my son, is to be satisfied. This is more kind of man.
Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say. Nothing comes out when they move their lips. There's a bunch of gibberish and motherfuckers act cause they forgot about Dre.
Weirdest audition on the planet. So I'm picturing an audition, right? So you got David Bowie, who obviously has a band, right? So I go to RCA Studios in New York, which is a recording studio, but you know, I figured with his money, he can afford to just you know, rent the place out for the night just to do auditions. There was no band. I walk in the place, and his assistant meets me in the front, because I had requested, they said, what kind of amp you want? I said, well, just get me a Marshall, whatever, I'll bring my guitar. And she walks me into the live room, and there's the amp, and she leaves me there. And then I hear the intercom, and it's an American voice. I can't see the control room, because the suckers, they blacked out the control room, so I couldn't see anything. And voice was American. In hindsight, it was Tony Visconti, the producer at the time that did it. He said, okay, get your guitar and play along. I said, oh, well, what key and chords? He goes, don't worry about that. All right. When I didn't realize, I was playing along with Diamond Dogs as it was being mixed. They were pulling guitars out, and I was, you know, on the spot. And I think I played maybe a half hour. And then there's this dead silence again, right? And I'm thinking, okay, this is not going well. and David walks in, and I already, when I was 17, you guys remember a Broadway play called Hair? Okay, there was some kind of dispute with the main actors in the play. They split. They got a promoter, and they took that out live on the road, and I was in the backup band for that thing. So I'd already been, those days were weird. I mean, but cool weird, you know, real artsy New York crazy theater people. And then I saw David, and I thought, those motherfuckers are tame compared to this, because he walked in at the time, unbeknownst to me, and this is all public knowledge anyway, so I'm not speaking out of school, he'd already found the cocaine by that point, right? I mean, you know, so he walked in with big old baggy pants and stuff, and a beret, and none of that really, but I kept looking at his face going, something's weird. It's almost like somebody was missing a nose, you know, or something. I'm going, he had no eyebrows. And it was intimidating a little bit until he sat down with me and he grabbed the guitar. We grabbed the viol. We sat there for about a half hour and talked and played. He said, great to meet you. I walked out. His assistant goes, we got 12 guys to look at. We'll let you know. So at this point, I did get kind of anxious, right? Phone rings the next morning. It says, David, loved what you did. Come up to the Sherry Netherlands Hotel. We're going to sit down. He wants you in the band, if you want to be in the band. It was easy as that.
I did a workshop yesterday. I was terrified, but it went pretty well, I think. And I'm totally in awe of the other guitar players that are here. Larry Carlton, Robben Ford, Guthrie Trapp, John Goldie. I mean, they're all a lot better than me, but for some reason they asked me to come and it's been great. What a great experience. Fantastic. Great food, beautiful scenery, lovely hotel. Amps supplied, and I brought some guitars, but everything's here. Can't recommend it highly enough to anybody who wants to come.
So when I first joined the Pretenders, probably a story worth telling. I knew James Honeyman Scott. I just knew him as Jimmy. Actually, I met him before he joined the Pretenders. In fact, I think I saw him when he came up and did the audition with Chrissy. And he talked to me about maybe joining the band for live and kind of just fleshing out the sound of the band, you know, because he maybe wanted to play some keyboards, blah, 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 blah. And then he died very suddenly. And I didn't get in touch with anybody. I thought, well, you know, I wasn't disappointed. I was sad for him dying, but I wasn't disappointed. I didn't see it as a chance gone, you know, flying by. Anyway, they called me eventually. I think one of the crew guys had mentioned that they knew me, and I went and did an audition with a bunch of other people. So I did get the gig kind of legitimately. You know, I did an audition, and Chrissy rang me up a couple of days after. First thing we played was a song that was Touchy was a hit, but we recorded this just before Christmas of '82, and we wanted to put it out as a single, but the record company said, "Oh no, it's too late. We can't promote it." Blah 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 blah. So it became a single in Christmas of '83. So we just sort of sat on the shelf for. I was convinced it would have been a hit if we put it out, and it was called 2,000 Miles. It was a Christmas. I don't think the American will recognise it. Yeah. Yeah, oh good. I mean, it's a good Christmas song because it's not like in your face. Merry Christmas. It's it's kind of it's very subtle, I think. It even had the line, but but that was a backing vocal that we did where we went Father Christmas, but we took it out, or Chrissy took it out because it was just too. It just sounded terrible. So Chrissy came to me with it. I showed Andrew this. This is what she played. That's what she, yeah, oh, sorry, you were playing it as well. I wonder why it sounded so good. Yeah, let's do it. And I'll show you what I played over the top of it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. So on and so forth. So that was the first thing I did with Pretenders, and I thought it was quite good. I was quite proud of myself. So.
September last year, my wife and I got evicted from our flat. It wasn't that bad, right? We lived there for 3 years, and our landlord said, we have to move our family in, so you guys need to leave. So we left, and we went to Poland for a while, and we thought, what do we do next? I woke up with the idea one day, and I thought, a guitar retreat. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a guitar retreat. And that's kind of how it started. And then it just grew from there. And here we are today.
Some people thought this was a hoax. So we've had people say that this, can't be happening. There's no way you've got Larry and Robben and, all these guys together, and here we are. So we're going to take pictures, but the world we live in right now, people will say it's AI anyway, so,
If you have a good guitar, and actually even a crap guitar, everything in the physics system will attempt to resonate with you when you're playing. I started playing with big stacks, Marshall valve amps, Orange valve amps, 4x2, like a full stack, because I needed a full stack in my garage. It was imperative that I had every speaker possible, And then I'll never forget playing my first ever gig at the Rose and Crown pub in Trowbridge in Wiltshire with my parents and about 5 of their friends. It was the best gig ever. And I got a lot of... That's how I sounded. I still thought I was amazing, even though I sounded like arse. And what was happening was that the amp was really close to me, and whenever I would turn to speak to the audience, it would feed back, and it was just horrendous. I persevered and ended up, through a whole different chain of circumstances, at Abbey Road, being recorded by Eddie Kramer. So Eddie is a legendary producer engineer who produced and engineered, amongst many people, Jimi Hendrix and the Stones and Steve Vai and some like my idols. But we got on really, really well. But while we were playing, he stopped me and said, I'm going to teach you something now, Rob. I want you to pay attention, listen very closely to me. He said, I want you to play one note. Do you think you can do that? And I was like, yeah. And he went, but I didn't hear one note. I heard a barrage of harmonics. And I thought, oh, I think I understand what he's saying. He said, you need to do what Jimmy did and what everyone else that I've worked with did, and learn how to not play everything else you're not wanting to play. So I want to teach you some of the ways that I remove the unwanted empathetic resonations from the guitar to make it really pure. Let's start with these 3 fingers. Let's just place your swearing finger and your ring finger on the E and the B string, like this. The E and the B string. The beast ring. And then I want, with your pick, I want you to pick the G string. So it goes. Now what you'll notice though is we're not muting the E, A, and D strings, because as you lift your thumb up, they're left exposed. They could just do that, which would be really annoying. I'm simulating volume. So what you could do is, once you've picked with your plectrum, you could rest your thumb, the side of your thumb, on top of the E, A, and D string. So just practice. So you pick, and then you rest your thumb on top of the E, A, and D. So it'll look like this.
But to me, it all comes from just having a good knowledge of some basic fundamentals. And so, of course, these are all my strong opinions, but apparently that's why I'm here. So I will say that I don't like the term caged system, because it's confusing the shit out of a lot of people. And so to me, the caged system, it's a clever word that they came up with. And so they, meaning whoever, I don't know. But it only spells caged if you start on the C shape. So you've got C. So you've got C, the C shape. Then you've got the A shape, which means that's your A chord. And if I want to play that same shape up the fingerboard, I have to play this now A-shaped bar chord. That means this nut is basically, I'm replacing that nut with my first finger, and that's what bar chords are. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you know that, but I don't think it's bad to review the basics. So that's your A shape. That's your, one of your chord inversions. So they would say C, A, and this would be your G shape. Because if I take a G chord of any style and I move it all the way up there, that's a G shape. But guess what? Unless I'm out of my mind, nobody on the planet is going to play this G shape on the guitar ever. But you have to know that shape, these constellation notes that make up these chords. To me, I look at it like building a house. The chord is the foundation. Then the first level of framework is the arpeggio, which means now we're abandoning these big chords that you're like, well, I'm playing this chord. I can't play anything else because my whole hand is now, I'm stuck here with this big giant chord, and all I have is this sound, and that's no fun. So, okay, well, now take that chord and just play the notes by themselves. That's an arpeggio. I'm gonna get it together, don't worry. And then, you know, all your arpeggios up to neck. Okay, chord's the foundation, arpeggio is the first level of the framework. Now, I think that it's really crucial that you learn this in sequence. That's my house analogy, man. The chord is the foundation, the arpeggio is the first level of framework, the sheetrock is the pentatonic, and the wallpaper is the major scale. And then anything creative past that is the artwork and the furniture.
In coming here, I was a little bit suspect, a little bit pessimistic that the thing that was sold in the brochure and, you know, and all of that, it sounded too good to be true. And I went, yeah, so this ain't gonna happen, that's not gonna happen, and, you know, possibly, but it's all come good, and it's exceeded my expectation. Some of the jams have been great, the concerts, you know, the night concerts are lovely, and then to be able to go to the bar with the people who you've just seen and talk about their music and how they got to be where they are and can swap stories, you know, that's been highly enjoyable.
I've been running and hiding for much too long. You know it's just your foolish pride, Layla. I've never been to Scotland, and it's honestly so beautiful, and it's been an amazing experience. And I've learned loads, especially from Andre. Andre's been teaching me a lot, and I've really connected with him. He's been teaching me all these cool turnarounds, voicings, phrases. So yeah.
I fell in love with blues. I devoted my whole life researching. I wrote music that is blues influenced in Portuguese, and was very successful doing that. And that allowed me to play with some of my heroes, some back in California. And then when they start coming to Brazil, I was backing them up and enjoying that. And being here is like the pinnacle of all this, because I'm a full-time teacher. That's all I want to do. I hardly perform. And being in front of you guys that I know love this so much is like a blessing. So thank you for coming. Thank you for trusting us on this project. And I'm here to play some old blues for you guys now.
You said you hurt him. You almost lost your mind. Man you love, it hurts you all the time. When things go wrong, go wrong with you, baby. It hurts me too. all down begging, pleading. You can lay it all out now. Begging.
Nobody loves me but my mother. And she could be jiving too. Nobody loves me but my mother. She could be jiving too. Now you see why I act so funny, baby. When you do the things you do. Never heard. Is she still in your world? I sometimes wanna call her up, but I restrain myself. Hate is dangerous. Are you proud you created this? How did I find the time to love so blind? I cannot speak the words of your deceit, your make-believe. Robbie, take it away.
I'm a crosscut son. Let me drag across your love. I'm a crosscut son. Let me drag across your love. I could show wood so easy for you. can help but say I'm down.
Here you go.